Welcome back to Everything Whiskey. I'm Callum.
Sam.
Today we're doing another versus, this time between two Australian whiskies.
Alright, so as requested, we're doing an Aussie versus. Jaffa wanted us to do Morris, but the signature, which I don't think we have.
I think that's the one above.
One. Yeah, I don't think we have the exact one. But we do have the Starward Nova, which you wanted. But yeah, I think Aussie, we'll probably do a few more Aussie ones as well. This is probably a good one though. Like versus wise, these two together versus is a good one. It's a good recommendation because like
what is Starward Nova? Is that red wine?
Yeah, it's red wine barrel finished. And this is like
sherry,
you know, finish. I think they use red wine in this one. They use like fortified red wine and stuff like that. Both as well are like ones that we really enjoyed in the past. And they're also we've been talking a lot recently with Aussie and now New Zealand whiskies that they have this underlying flavour, this kind of weird note that we can't kind of really describe, which is, again, we've said so before, very useless to you guys because we can't even describe it to you, which is the whole point of this channel, which is very frustrating. I don't know how we're going to do it. We're just going to have to come up with like some good descriptors. Maybe talk to some of the people that make these whiskies and kind of get a good opinion from them. But there's been an underlying flavour with most of them. These two are not part of that category though.
No, yeah.
They don't have that underlying weird kind of, again, don't really know how to describe it, taste. They're very much more along the lines of like traditional kind of like, I don't know, what.
To be fair though, we haven't tried these since we've been getting that note.
Nah, I don't reckon. Oh, okay, yeah, true. Well, if that happens, we'll let you know.
I doubt it would have that flavor.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. So pour just one each. So as we said, this one's red wine barrel finished by Starward, arguably the biggest Aussie whiskey distillery, definitely Victoria. And then we've got Morris Rutherglen, which is another Victorian distillery. They are predominantly winemakers, fortified winemakers, and they've moved into the whiskey scene. And they've had they've had a pretty good impact. Like they're
pretty good success,
very positive.
People love this whiskey.
Yeah, and they've put in a decent amount of money into it, like right off the bat, which they've been able to do, one, by having an established wine industry already for the, you know, money-wise, but also it's enabled them to have access to really cool casks, which I guess it's a relatively a challenge for other people to get hold of like unique casks and stuff, whereas they really can just like do whatever the hell they want because they've got so much access. But yeah, we'll get into this one. I don't know the ages for either of them. From memory, maybe the Nova was like 5 years old or something, but
I think that was around the same as well, the Morris.
I feel like this is going to be a good one because, well, I hope, because I really don't remember which one I like more.
I don't remember either of them in terms of flavour. I remember this was very sherry-esque.
This one smells like kind of malty. I don't remember it being that malty.
The Morris is very fruity up front. A lot of that sherry. It's got like fortified, probably the better. Yeah, it's like sherbet on the Morris.
This one's like got that kind of underlying raspberry note, which I guess is like the red wine barrel. What's the proof with these? So I think this one's 40.
I think they're both 40%.
This is 41. So on 40. Yeah, so basically the exact same. Yeah. I feel like both of these, from memory, all Aussie ones, not a lot of them have particularly high proofs, but I think they could all be like bumped up. Like I reckon I would really enjoy most of them if they were like quite a bit higher in proof. Not that I don't enjoy them already, but just like their flavors are like really cool. And I reckon that for me personally, I like them cranked up as high as they can. So the problem is they're already so boutique and small batch and expensive. You go barrel proof with Aussie whiskies, holy crap, you pay through the nose.
I mean, I was going to say, on that you love cranked up whiskies. Two of the Baker Hills are cask strength. And we don't like either of those.
We've tried them so many times, we just can't get into it. We need to try more Baker Hills because they were literally their first ones they ever released.
The first
like
three.
Years and years
They've now got
ago.
like a 10 or something.
So we definitely need to go back and try new ones, but that's true. They are cask strength and we didn't enjoy those. It's got too much malt. That's annoying.
I'm getting, you know those milk bottle lollies? The little white.
Yeah.
I'm getting a sherbet version of those.
I'm getting like a double cream, raspberries, bunch of like malty kind of mildew like a Scotchy, like typical in a Speyside or a Highland.
Morris has got a lot of dark fruits, honey,
Yeah.
bit of molasses as well. Oh. Yeah, that flavour, by the way, that red flavour that is the Australian whiskey does not come through a Morris at
Oh,
all.
it's not in this either
Yeah.
at all. So yes, we're right with that. The flavour's better for me than the nose with the Nova. It's more fruity, like that raspberry note kicks up. It's like that when you bite down on, when you have a fresh raspberry, it's covered in those seeds.
Yeah.
You get like that bitterness when you crunch into it. It's kind of like that. It's got that bitterness, that dryness, but a fair amount of that raspberry fruitiness. It's still got that malt, but not as much as the nose would suggest.
Yeah.
I like it. It's interesting. Whoa, that's way different. That's way different.
This is
warmer and nuttier.
Yeah.
It's got a weird. The hell? It's got these kind of.
There's a lot of raspberries, like you said.
Yeah.
Maybe
This is
pear.
way.
It's
This
like,
is way sweeter.
it's really fruity, the Starward.
There's no maltiness in this at all. That's quite Scotch-like,
Wait
whereas
till the
this.
palate, there's
yeah.
a hint, but not much.
It's got a weird note that I've not gotten from it before. The one thing, like blind tasting versus whatever you want to do, whatever you want to call it as well. Like, but just having some sort of comparison with two different whiskies and sitting with one and then swapping to the other, I've been finding flavors once I've swapped that I never normally get. Like when we did the Jack versus the Jim Beam.
Yeah.
When I went from the Jim Beam to the Jack,
That plasticky note.
really different,
Yeah.
like way different. Whereas normally when I smell them on their own, I'm like, yeah, kind of smells like how I remember it. But like having something else to compare it to,
I also get
other
new
flavors
notes as
jump
well.
out. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
New notes jump out, like in comparison. Like this has got some kind of weird plasticky note for me. It's got like a
Bloody plastic note.
nothing like the Balcones or the other
Yeah.
kind of like things have been that other plasticky note we sometimes get. This is like completely different. This is like a warm cellophane, like I don't even know how to describe it. Like you've just opened a packet of saran wrap or glad wrap.
To me, the Starward Nova is completely different. I'm not even getting much of the red wine impact. I'm getting more
Just raspberry
lemon sherbet,
Yeah.
more citrusy, lots of fruit.
This is deep and sweet for me and quite nutty. This is much more like wine impact. Like it tastes like
Yeah,
dessert wine. Like it's nowhere near as sweet. Like the nose would suggest it's quite sweet. It's not really that sweet of a whiskey. It's got like a dry note, a barrel impact, but the actual flavor is kind of like of old grapes and like developed fruits and stuff. It's got this weird kind of different drink taste.
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of other things that you find, there's like barrel impact, like finishing barrel impacts. Whereas this tastes like it's actually got another thing in it, like a hint of something else
yeah.
that isn't whiskey in it, which is nice. It's unique.
Starward for me on the palate. Lots of fruit, but it's not sweet fruit. It's more
It's a lot drier,
sour,
yeah.
almost dry. There's not many earth notes in it. It's very zingy, fresh, light. And
I like tobacco from this now. I'm getting like aromatic tobacco.
I was getting chocolate on that, like dark chocolate.
Yeah.
This, I reckon this is a whiskey is more whiskey-esque, the Starward.
It's more like traditional. Like,
Yeah.
It reminds you of like more of a Scotch or something.
Scotch-ish.
This is more like unique, I'd say, definitely.
There's no warmth or depth of the nose on the Starward. It's very bright and up front, which I don't remember at all. I remember
No,
it
me
being
neither.
dark and rich. It's
This
literally
is
like
weird.
lemon
This
sherbet.
kind of like it tastes like it's got and smells like it's got some of that weird like Australian rye. Like I don't know how to describe it. It's some weird, like craft dark chocolate, like you're saying. How sometimes they have
Yeah.
this weird kind of note to it.
Yeah.
We will put both prices on the screen.
Yeah.
We should
'Cause
probably
we're-
look it up before we do these videos, but we never remember to. From memory, 80-ish bucks, 90 something to 100.
I always thought that was more expensive,
Yeah.
but I'm probably wrong.
Star would have like a big range, and the like,
Especially
even now, like
yeah.
they've got some really interesting stuff coming out, but it is quite expensive, like in the $130 to $160 range. I want to try them. They're just harder to justify.
Yeah.
But some of them are like peated. I saw
Is that the Octave or is that something completely different?
Something different. But there's a lot of different ones. I do want to try them. The malt jumps up a ton once you go back from that to the Nova.
This is a lot more deep and rich.
That's what I was saying. Like once you go from this to that, there's like this deep nutty sweetness that like I don't normally notice as profoundly until you compare it to this. This is like got this stale.
It's almost like a trifle.
Yeah,
this is creamy raspberry bit of.
This is much more similar to. It's going to remind you a lot more to your like Speyside scotches and stuff. That kind of stale, mildew, malty, earthy notes are there. It's just got this kind of weird little sidestep of like fruit and the red wine and stuff. But base-wise, if you're looking at it, it's going to be quite similar to scotches. Whereas I feel like this is pretty different to anything else.
It's hard to compare the Morris. I didn't get the malt on that as much as you're.
I'm getting it quite a bit.
I was getting a lot of lemony sherbet.
Don't you reckon if you go back from that, like...
If you do that, yeah.
It's like
that quick kind of rapid.
Yeah, in comparison, that's so much more warm and oily
dense,
and sticky. Like it tastes and feels more desserty. This is more traditional kind of like whiskey. Yeah.
Tastes the same as well. It tastes so much.
Yeah, it tastes good.
Stickier. Yeah.
Except for the sweetness jumps down on the taste. For me.
Only a smidge. It's not.
It's got like a dry finish for me. Yeah, look, for me, if we're taking this as a versus, personally the Morris for me is what I choose, just because it's more unique.
Yeah.
And the flavor profile is more what I go for these days anyway.
It kind of feels like it shouldn't be that way. I would also go the Morris, but I don't know. It's a
I feel
weird.
like Scotch drinkers will probably go for this because it is more.
Not even that. I reckon just
reminiscent of a
whiskey
Scotch.
drinkers would be like, how dare you? Because they're like a winery that have gone into this, whereas Star would have started up. I don't know. Their flavor profile is just really nice, especially in this one.
Yeah.
I want to try more Morris.
Yeah.
To see if it actually continues.
Yeah.
Because if this is a one-off, well done. Because I think this was their first ever whiskey.
Yeah, it was.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, no, for me, this is definitely more traditional. It's going to remind you of whiskey. It tastes more like whiskey in that sense, with some cool kind of side notes that aren't normally in it, with the red wine, the raspberries. This standalone is more of its own thing. Tastes more like...
It's like a dessert whiskey almost.
Yeah, it tastes... But it also, like, just its base flavour is more like Aussie whiskey, just more unique. Whereas this is more on the Scotch side of things.
Yeah. Well, that's probably early doors of Australian whiskey.
Yeah, but also, like, they find their footing on, like, what their flavour is unique-wise. But also, I think when you have places like Scotland and Ireland and America, you're gonna, like, with such huge whiskey industries, you're gonna take inspiration
the
and
flavor
like
profiles,
you're gonna obviously take their knowledge and stuff when you're making your own, because it'd be stupid not to learn from them and stuff. So there's gonna be a lot of inspiration on both sides. But yeah, for me, Morris is more my style at the moment. So let us know what you think. What do you prefer if you've tried them both? Obviously this episode is going to be very limited to people in Australia, and even more so Victoria, because they're both Victorian. I know the kind of how far Morris gets in regards to Australia.
I think that borders it,
but yeah, either way, let us know what you think, your opinion, what we should do next in a versus series. We're going to be covering a ton of these, just because there's a lot of options to do.
And they're interesting as well.
Yeah. And because we keep finding new notes from things that we never got before, so it's worth doing. If you like this episode of Everything Whiskey, leave us a like and see future episodes from us. Maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. If you do, see you next one.
Cheers.